You're listening to Audiology. Support our work on Patreon and be sure to submit your requests for topics in the comments below. In December of 1688, England was gripped by a widespread frenzy known as the Irish Fright, during a turbulent period at the tail end of King James II's rule amid the Glorious Revolution. This was a time when James II, having failed an initial attempt to escape to France, still had forces from the Jacobite Irish Army in England. These Irish troops were there to bolster James's weakening grip on power, but they were not popular with England's mainly Protestant populace. Mid-December saw rumours flying that these Irish soldiers were plotting a horrifying spree of violence and looting against the English people as revenge for James's dethronement. The false alarms of the Irish burning down towns and savagely attacking residents spread panic like wildfire from London across at least 19 counties. The scared locals did not just stand by. They formed armed groups ready to defend their homes from these imagined Irish attackers. However, this widespread panic did not last long and fizzled out after a couple of days. Who kicked off this frenzy remains a mystery, though people at the time thought it might have been the doing of Orangist supporters, aiming to tarnish James II's already faltering reputation even further. When James II took the throne in 1685, he inherited an army in Ireland consisting of 8,238 men, all officially Protestants, as they were required to prove their faith by partaking in the Church of England's sacrament twice a year. Despite these rules, during James II's reign, who was a Catholic, some Catholics managed to join the army. By 1688, the army's numbers had slightly increased to 8,938 soldiers. In September of that year, 2,820 from this force were sent over to England to strengthen the English army in anticipation of an invasion by William of Orange, James II's son-in-law. William had been asked to invade by English politicians who were unhappy with James II's leadership. Many of these Irish soldiers were stationed in Portsmouth, sparking concern and fear among the locals. An early October 1688 newsletter reported that the people of Portsmouth were very upset by the rude Irish soldiers' behaviour, leading to many families leaving due to the disturbances and crimes committed. This situation heightened the existing fears among the English that Irish or Catholic forces might attempt an anti-Protestant rebellion. Such fears weren't new. Back in 1641, Protestants in Staffordshire were so afraid of Catholic attack that they felt unsafe going to church unarmed. Later that year, panic spread through Ludlow and Bewdley, with residents preparing for what they believed was an imminent Catholic insurgence. In 1681, the House of Lords even declared that there was a dangerous plot by Catholics in Ireland, aimed at killing English settlers, overthrowing the Protestant religion and toppling the established government. After spending 3 stressful months in Portsmouth, the Irish soldiers were sent to participate in the Battle of Reading on December 9, 1688, marking the only significant battle of the Glorious Revolution. Following their defeat, some of these troops were ordered back to Portsmouth, while others were sent to Uxbridge, west of London. However, instead of continuing to fight against William of Orange's invasion, the Earl of Feversham decided to disband James's forces, allowing the Irish soldiers to be released from their military duty. On Thursday, December 13th, Bishop Gilbert Burnet shared a rather startling story. He said, "Late at night, locals from the countryside stormed into Westminster, spreading fears like wildfire. They claimed that the Irish, furious and unstoppable, were marching towards London, leaving nothing but destruction in their path." Another journalist added that early that same morning, there was a cry throughout the city and surrounding areas that went something like, "Get up! Arm yourselves! The Irish are on a rampage." This alarm set off immediate chaos, and it was reported that an astonishing number of 100,000 men quickly got ready to protect their homes within just 30 minutes. To ensure that these supposed attackers couldn't approach under the cover of night, buildings were brightly lit all over. An ambassador from the Grand Duke of Tuscany, who was in London at the time, observed a chaotic but determined scene. He saw people of all ages joining in the defense, shooting guns, beating drums as fast as they could, and even women making as much noise as possible using pans and frying pans. Despite the panic, this loud and armed response actually prevented further chaos, which wasn't what the person who started the rumor had intended. Adding fuel to the fire, there were false rumors going around that Uxbridge had been attacked by the Irish. Philip Musgrave shared his concerns, noting that Lord Feversham had recently disbanded the Irish army, but hadn't taken away their weapons. According to Musgrave, this left a large group of Irish soldiers and Roman Catholics near Uxbridge, who, it was rumoured, were causing destruction everywhere they went. In response to these tumultuous events, the House of Lords didn't waste any time. They gathered at Whitehall at 3 in the morning to discuss what was happening and to check on the reports of Uxbridge being under siege. The phenomenon known as the Irish Fright took the nation by storm, quickly spreading panic throughout England. By around December 14th, people in Norfolk were consumed with the false belief that Irish forces were bearing down on Norwich. The same day, Kent was gripped by a wave of mass hysteria, and there were talks in Surrey that Kingston upon Thames had fallen victim to a fire set by supposed Irish rebels, with locals going so far as to block roads by felling trees to hinder the advance of these fictive insurgents. In Cambridge, rumours were swirling about a force of thousands of Irishmen having laid waste to Bedford and planning to do the same to Cambridge, causing some residents to flee, though these fears were later allayed by travellers arriving from Bedford who refuted these claims. The Midlands were not spared from the panic, with alarming reports circulating on the same day. The mayor of Chesterfield claimed thousands of Catholics and Irishmen had set Birmingham ablaze and were moving towards Derby. In Leicestershire, clergyman Theophilus Brooks, who notably took an active role in the defence preparations, reported terrifying tales of violence and destruction, but found himself disbanding his makeshift militia when no threat materialised. Yorkshire experienced its share of fear a day later on December 15th, with several towns rallying troops and citizens arming themselves amidst false reports of Doncaster, Birmingham and Stafford falling to attackers. Artisans in Leeds prepared weapons, and a significant force was assembled to safeguard the city. Yet this readiness was aimed not only at fictional Irish, but also expected Lancastrian threats. The fright reached Lancashire simultaneously, with its residents also stirred by the same grim tales of violence and destruction, prompting them to form militias and take defensive measures against the rumoured Irish onslaught. In Chester, the governor took drastic steps by arming civilians and securing the city against an overstated threat of thousands of bloody Irish intent on mayhem, reported to be en route from London. The West Country was alerted on December 15th, with rumours of an imminent Irish attack causing the Duchess of Beaufort to take protective measures, supported by local militias led by figures like Sir John Guise, who were likely motivated by an opportunity to stiffen resistance against any potential loyalists of James II. The panic even reached as far as Wales and more isolated parts of England, with at least 19 counties caught in the grip of these baseless fears. Tragically, this hysteria resulted in the mistaken killing of an exciseman in Dolgellau and widespread repercussions for innocent Catholics who suffered property damage and persecution as mobs used the chaos as a pretext to target them under the guise of searching for weapons. Despite the rapid spread and intensity of the panic, it burned out just as quickly as it arose, settling down within a couple of days, with little to no actual violence occurring, except against the unfortunate exciseman mistaken for an Irish insurgent. However, the Irish Fright left a mark on the communities affected, illustrating the power of fear and rumour to incite panic and lead to the unjust treatment of innocent individuals. The Irish Fright occurred in the tense days following James II's escape from London, highlighting the anxious and unsettled political mood of the time. This event showed how years of anti-Catholic propaganda by the Whig Party had deeply ingrained a fear of Irish violence in the English population. It also conveniently supported William of Orange's position as the defender of England's Protestants against Catholic threats. There were speculations about whether the panic was sparked intentionally, and if so, by whom. De la Prime pointed out something strange about how the rumours spread, saying, "No one letter appeared out of the south concerning any such thing there, until it was always gone past those places where these letters were to go." He suspected a deliberate scheme behind it, set on foot by the king and council to test the nation's reaction to their new king. In Leeds, Ralph Thoresby admitted he could never find out who started the rumours, even locally. The agitator Hugh Speke later claimed credit for sparking the panic, but with no evidence to back this up, his claim is doubtful. An anonymous historian proposed a different explanation, noting that the rumours seemed to follow major communication routes from London, suggesting that the scare stories were spread deliberately by people who were positioned in each county and acted on instructions received by post. Some believe Marshal Schomberg, one of William of Orange's generals, was behind the Irish Fright. Bishop Burnet referred to it as an effective strategy commonly attributed to the Duke of Schomberg. Another 18th-century writer suggested the panic began when disbanded soldiers, out of money and disliked in the region, broke into a country house to avoid starvation. This led a local man to rush to London with an exaggerated tale of marauding Irishmen, triggering the widespread fear. Interestingly, a similar wave of panic, known as the Great Fear, occurred in France almost a century later, just before the French Revolution, showing how such fears could escalate on a much larger scale. Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more content.